Guys, I want to thank y'all so much for coming here tonight. I want to start by getting everybody involved. I know it's like speaking in a football game. Everybody's so spread out. So I want to talk to you, or start off by getting you to write down a name or text a name in your phone for me. Can you do that for me? Just take a minute. Take your phone out. You have permission. Or get a piece of paper and a pen. Real quick. I'm going to try to keep you all a very few minutes here. And I want you to write down a name of someone who has made a deep impact or had influence in your life. It can't be your spouse, though. Write down a name, somebody had influence in your life, or had a big impact, and the reason why you're here today. And I'll come back to that later. I just wanted you to have that. I want to talk to you tonight about a caravan. I always have a little shock factor in my speeches. So tonight, this is it. I want to talk to you about a Dodge Caravan. We should have a picture of it coming up here. Now, my wife doesn't like a Dodge Caravan. She don't like any kind of van. I can't talk her into it. I've tried, and she won't do it. She likes an SUV. I like a Caravan because we have 5 kids. We need one. It'd have built-in TVs. It'd have a PlayStation. It'd have nice seats. But the most important thing, it would have sliding doors. Now, if you know anything about kids and SUVs or any kind of car, if you park next to us in a parking lot, the color of our car is going to end up in the color of your car, because those doors are going to swing wide open with no thought. Don't y'all agree? So I like the sliding doors. For no other reason, I'd want a Dodge Caravan for that. And I know y'all looking at this picture of my family and thinking, how'd he do it? All my friends ask me that. How'd you do it? And I'm talking about the beautiful blonde next to me, my wife. My friends have actually called me the best salesman ever for closing that deal. Talking my wife into marrying me. But I'll tell you something else about my wife also. We honored teachers tonight. And I do believe my wife is not only the best teacher in Columbia, but she's the best teacher in South Carolina, the United States, and I believe scientifically, I think I can prove that she's the best teacher in the whole world. Can I get an amen? Teachers have done a lot. Thank you, sweetheart. I want to talk to you tonight about another type of caravan, though. The definition of the other caravan is a person or group of people that go across the desert with one common purpose, and to watch out for each other. Now I started thinking about the group that's going to be here tonight, and I started thinking, you know what? That is a perfect word to describe all of us. A caravan. A group of people crossing a desert. Hasn't 2020 been a desert for us? I mean, it's been a tough year. But I started thinking about people in the Bible that have been through some tough times. Think about Jonah in the bottom of the well. A big fish. Now, you kids, you might enjoy this, or might not. Could you imagine somebody being in a fish being big enough to be in the bottom of a fish? So that fish has to be big enough not only to eat you, but eat other fish. So the only thing I can think of is, could you imagine the smell in the belly of that fish? Being in there with all other pieces of fish have been eaten. That'd be nasty, wouldn't it? The only thing I can equate to that is driving home from a baseball game, and our boy, Preston, my 7-year-old, decides his feet need to breathe. And so he takes off his cleats. And all of a sudden, the whole family is looking at each other, gagging, got the windows rolled down, and now we're sticking our heads out the window because the smell is so bad. That's the only thing I can equate to that. But how about Daniel in the lion's den? That's a bad day, isn't it? Being in a room with a bunch of lions wanting to eat you. How about Jonah and the fish? Daniel in the lion's den. And how about Joseph in the bottom of a well? Think about that. In the bottom of a well, bruised, battered, neglected, betrayed by the people that are supposed to watch out for you, his brothers. But I started thinking, aren't we all in the bottom of the well this year in 2020? And I started thinking about the homeless kids. And not only just homeless kids, but kids that don't have a mom or dad. And that kind of took me down memory lane. I started thinking about the times that I've been through the desert growing up. I remember being slapped at the age of 6 so hard that I bruised a vessel in my face and they had to take me to the hospital because some big lady in a foster home didn't like the way I cleaned her bathroom. I remember at the age of 7 going in an airplane from LA to Virginia by myself because that home never wanted me and didn't want me anymore. I remember going from Virginia to Rock Hill in South Carolina on a bus, on a Greyhound, with a letter that was in an envelope written to a foster home saying the previous foster home didn't want me. I remember that home running away and knowing the punishment for running away was getting 15 licks, bending across the table with your pants down in front of all the other kids, and I didn't want that to happen. So I tried to blind myself. I looked up into the sun with one eye, which I'm still legally blind in my left eye, until my eye became a dry socket. I remember crying at birthdays and Christmas, many of them, because I was alone and nobody remembered me. I remember having pills in my hand. And remember that last moment, right before I took them, still debating with myself, and then finally deciding to take them. I remember being dropped off at a hospital in the lobby and being left there because the foster parents didn't want to pay my bills. I remember going to a Greenville homeless shelter in a car. I remember being in that same shelter and having my 4 teeth out, taken out. And that's what happens when you're poor. They don't try to fix them. They just yank them out. And you have holes in your teeth and you can't eat your food. And having too many cavities, 20-something cavities they wouldn't fix. I remember the caravans God sent me at that time. I remember the rough times. But I remember all during those times, God sending caravans. I remember getting a Christmas gift. One Christmas, the best gift, to this day I get a smile on my face because it was an AM/FM stereo. And listen to this, young people too young to realize this. It had real leather veneer. That means it burnt you when you laid it out in the sun. But man, I love that AM stereo. I didn't even know who donated it to the boys' home that year, but it was the one gift I got and I loved it. That was a caravan. I remember a teacher at school, when I had a patch in my eye, she realized what I was going through. And every day when I got to school, she'd wrap her arms around me and tell me she loved me. And don't worry about the kids calling me Patch the Pirate. What a caravan. I remember a DSS worker named Steve. He had long blonde hair, looked like Jesus, I thought. And he walked into that hospital when I was in the lobby. He walked in and said, Steve, he says, I got you. I'll find you a home. And I'll never forget this. It's not your fault that you were abandoned. It's not your fault. I remember Bill Agerdahl, a youth pastor, taking time out of his day to go to that rescue mission and getting me out of there, and taking me to a private school after getting kicked out of 2 public schools and taking care of me. I remember a dentist, and Ed Davis at Davis Orthodontics would appreciate this. I remember one of my friend's fathers was a dentist and heard about my teeth and fixed them all. Fixed all 20 cavities. It took like 3 weeks and fixed them all for me. I remember Dr. Ken Hay mentoring me all through high school and getting me a basketball scholarship in college. It changed my life. What a caravan. But the best memory I have, guys, the best I remember is 11 years ago, realizing that I needed to turn my life over to God. I realized I had no purpose in life, no value. And let me tell you something. I want to show you something. This is a $100 bill. You see that? You can crush it up. You can stain it. You can drop it on the floor and you can stomp it. But when it's all said and done, it's still a $100 bill. You know why? Because it has a higher creator that made and placed a value on it. Even though I was bruised and trampled on and betrayed by mankind, my value is placed on me by God. I'll give you another example. Sand. Sand is free, isn't it? I mean, it's cheap. You can go to the beach and get all the sand you want. But you put that same sand, you get 20 pounds of it and put it in a bag and put it in your playground, all of a sudden now it costs $20 a bag. You get that same sand and get pieces of it, glue it to a piece of paper. Now you have sandpaper. It costs even more. You get that same sand and you heat it and you process it. And it makes silicon dioxide, which is part of a computer chip. Now it's $500 and you can hardly afford it. That same sand. What has changed? What has changed? It found its greater purpose. That's all. And when I found my greater purpose, which was opening up River's Edge Retreat, I found my value. And when I found my value, I finally could love that rejected Steve Ware because I had value in my Creator. Remember Jonah? Daniel? Do you remember Joseph at the bottom of the well? Looking up. Could you imagine the feelings there? I want you to look at that name again that you wrote down earlier. Look at it. That was your caravan. That person helped you, gave you purpose and value. I've had many caravans in my life. The one question I want to leave you with tonight, would you be on somebody else's list as their caravan? Would you be on somebody else's list as their caravan? If you've been rejected, if you're alone, if you've been feel betrayed, if you're at the bottom of a well right now, realize you have value. Realize that you've just got to find your greater purpose. And if you're not on somebody else's list as their caravan, I have a way that you can change that tonight. I love you. God loves you. And thank you so much for coming tonight.